Today is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. This is the Bluff Town Council regular meeting. Roll call.
Linda Sosa, Jennifer Davila, Luanne Hook,
Britt Hornsby.
Ann Leppanen.
Erin Nelson serving as town manager.
I didn't say the time. It's 4:02 p.m. Then the first thing is the approval Town Council meeting minutes of June 18th, 2024. Has everybody read them? Any changes, modifications?
I motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Then public comment, there will be a 3-minute time limit for any person wishing to make a public comment. If you exceed the 3-minute time limit, the meeting controller will mute you. Prior to the meeting, you can put your name in the box, the chat box, or raise the hand icon. Erin, are there any public comments? All right, so Luanne is present. Luanne?
Excuse me. I just wanted to pass on some news that I just received this afternoon that UDOT, Chris Hall from UDOT sent down word that they won the federal funding for the RAISE grant, which is 61 miles of trails along the highway from Montezuma Creek through Bluff over to Matt, where the 61 miles are, but it might go north a little. Anyway, it's a $9.6 million grant. So just want to on the next meeting as an agenda item, but I was super excited.
Congratulations. That you should be excited.
Yeah, I was super excited. I just saw it, so.
You didn't bring the champagne.
Didn't have time. So.
We're in the community center.
We can't have that. But anyway, there'll be more coming. Just wanted to get that out to everybody.
Should I get that on the work session for next week?
I think so. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think
everybody can get up to date on it.
that's good because that was something we were talking about today. Nobody had a recent update on the active transportation plan. So
Yeah, it's all the federal money that went to the state.
Is it planning, implementation?
Yep,
both?
it's planning and design. So planning on parts, design on the stuff that's already planned. So
well,
I could read you the whole thing, but
No.
No, and I'll send that on.
anyone else with a public comment?
Don't show anyone else right now.
So I'd like to make a public comment. Thank you to everyone who did such a great job on the storm coverage, making sure, the people were safe, the property was safe, the folks who've been working on clearing out debris. And it seems like I take a vacation and everybody has a storm or fire. So I now know you can function quite well without me. But thank you to everybody. Then the next, and we don't have any audience today, so I think that ends public comment. Then I'd like to introduce Judith Oakey and Julie DeLong from Pathways, who worked with us on our strategic plan. And this is one of the pieces that we built into our planning, was to do quarterly check-ins. And so I'm going to turn this over to Judith and Julie and let them have their half hour. Thanks.
You're muted.
I am muted. I just very quickly, I don't know how to share my screen on Teams. On Google Meet, rather.
Yeah, so at the bottom of the screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 icons from the left. There's like a little box with an up arrow. You can click on that, and then you'll get to choose if you want to share just a window or your entire screen. And give that a shot, and we'll see if we can get that to work.
Oh, window. Here we go. Here we go. Window. This must be the window. This is it. Okay, there we go. Oh, I learned something new. I can now say that I'm to avoid what? Okay. Oh dear. Oh, something's happening. My pen is going crazy.
She's drawing all over things.
I am
That's okay.
drawing all over the
Take your
place,
time.
but I shouldn't be in draw. Okay. Can you see my window?
We can see
Yeah,
the,
it's showing action points.
yeah,
Looks like
the last. So
Okay.
can you use arrow up?
That's it. Town of Bluff strategic plan.
And I'm not going to be able to see this and talk at the same time. I'll be really quick, but I think that as Ann said, we were we were asked to support 3 reviews of the strategic plan, and this is, I think, our 3rd. And what we thought we would do was to kind of very quickly go through some pending issues from the February review, to ask each of the major champions for different parts of the strategy to go ahead and share an update. I mean, and the purpose of this is to really just to do an update, and it's quick. It's not a why didn't this happen? That's a separate meeting. This is just where are we right now. So, and then we thought we'd talk about, there's still some places that don't have champions yet or key roles. There are some revised timetable things that might need to work. There's some, you might want to recommend changes to the priorities. And then maybe this is the bigger thing is that can the strategic plan be reviewed regularly on a monthly basis or something like that? Is there an opening that you could create for that so that it doesn't feel so heavy once every 3 or 4 months? And then what are the action points? So if that's good for an agenda, we'll just pop through this. 2 of the things that were outstanding at the February review was just conversation about, someone raised the point about whether or not you should reconsider or expand the vision statement. And the point was also made that the statement was approved in the general plan, in the strategic plan by the council, and it also reflects the vision statement that was in the general plan. So that's a question that's still pending. The second thing that was pending, and I know that I'm sure that you've done some work on this, was whether or not there should be a more linear process of having, policies, enforcement and compliance, so that gets done, and you're not doing any cart before the horse. And I didn't make a note about the specific issue that was referring to, but it was a pending issue from the February review. So those are kind of hanging out, just hanging out there, and we don't need an answer to them. We just need to know that they're there. To do the 2024 progress, I basically took the 4 priorities that we had talked about the last time, added the champions that you all had proposed, and then Erin and maybe others have had a chance to kind of quickly indicate which are in progress, and at least in this one, some things that have been designated for upcoming quarters. I don't know, Erin, do you want to just kind of take us through this quickly and maybe highlight what's in progress and anything else that you think is related to this that is celebratable in addition to this multi-million-dollar grant that you just got?
Yeah, so I definitely did a very, very quick brush stroke on some of the areas where I am the champion or I share champion duties with others. So certainly as we move through the presentation, we want feedback. We want to know if there is a planned time frame for some of these activities and the in progress or success stories. I think, so certainly we still are trying to capture feedback. This is not a holistic view, but I did want to note from the sustainable town government portion of things, Certainly in progress. Actually, all day today, we have been conducting interviews for a couple hired positions. So that's very exciting. And that should be completed. We should have folks onboarded in July, which is great. And then some of this is going to fall after those people are in place, which is why I had some further updates about like SOPs and org charts and things like that. Clearly, we still want to focus on a credit card processing system. And one for you, number 2 on there for the operations plan. I think that should be in progress. I think that should be updated.
Which one is that?
The Bluff Emergency Operations Plan.
Okay.
I think that's very well in progress, if not almost complete.
Yes.
My apologies for not getting that one notated. Comments on that first slide, or questions or additions?
On the do contract services for a mediator, let's put that into July and through September for the 3rd quarter.
The mediator?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Should we go on to the next one?
I'm sorry. Would you say that again?
Oh, I was just saying, are we ready to move to the next slide?
I think so.
So actually great timing for the first one on here regarding the active transportation committee. Luanne, do you want to?
Yes, so, we've been working with UDOT. It's a card service trail along the highways, and they asked for support to apply for a grant from the federal government, and it's called the RAISE, R-A-I-S-E.
We're fine.
So the Utah Department of Transportation received that grant. It's $9.6 million. And so that the specifics that will be coming, it's for design work where we already have it planned. They will come and design exact places where the concrete will go and so on. On the places like between here and Montezuma Creek where there is not a plan yet, they will do planning. And that will begin soon, hopefully, but there's no date on it yet.
That's great.
It's noticed, they just were notified of the award, and then they'll put companies to work and how that goes.
Jen, are you championing this activity?
Lou is. Not
Oh,
Jen.
sorry, was that Lou? I'm sorry, Lou, is that you talking? I'm sorry, my brain.
Yeah,
Okay,
this is Luanne. Or sorry, I should have announced myself, but yeah, this is Luanne. We've been working on the active transportation committee with Molly Schmidt was the chair of that committee, and then we've just been kind of on hold waiting to see. We're on the list for UDOT. We were on the top tier of UDOT projects, but we were down at number 35, I believe, and they're doing their top 12 or 14 this year. But then that will bump us up, and then they'll continue on with the other ones. But this one qualified for the funding that the RAISE required, rural outreach, all of that kind of thing.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Audio back on.
Yeah, we're having some technical
Let me.
difficulties.
What if one of them turns their speaker on? It might work.
Theirs is going to be a little louder than mine. Actually, let me just see if we can connect to Bluetooth again. Can we get a test audio? Judith, can you hear us? Are you still there?
I can hear you great. I can hear you really well.
Try one more time.
I can hear you well.
How about now?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do one more time. Oh, goodness gracious.
Do you want to just try on
That seems more promising. One more time, Judith.
Yes. I can hear you well.
If you turn your microphone on, let's just see if it gets feedback to hers, because it might be far enough.
Hold off.
So
Can you hear?
does that work?
One more time.
Do
Okay.
you want me to leave this on or off?
They don't tell us right away if it doesn't work.
There. I think it's on.
All right.
Judith? No.
Yeah.
Still.
Check.
Okay, I can hear your conversation. Can you hear me?
Let's just so
Check, check, check.
You sound,
so if you turn that.
You're doing it. Britt, can you say something?
Check, check, check,
Just-
check,
sorry.
check.
So I'm
Check.
going
So
to
why don't you turn that one off?
Just turn it off.
And let's see.
And then, so her microphone still needs to be muted. So you're gonna mute your microphone. We just want your audio on.
so that's muted.
Yeah, so we just want
Yeah.
that on. And sorry, you've got all the hands. And then, there we go. How about now? One more time.
perfect.
So much better.
Perfect. How's that sounding to you? Were you able to hear me? Is that?
We can't hear you now.
Okay, well, I didn't say anything.
No,
Oh,
but we
I
can't
can't-
hear. We can't hear Erin.
I can't
No.
hear them.
Right.
I wonder if at each of your individual computers, if you can just unmute, keep your.
Is that right?
Okay, now I'm trying it. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, shall we keep going again?
Okay. So it looks like there were some things here that had to do with external communication and reports for the council.
So
Any
under-
update on that?
She's asking about external, like the quarterly board reports or connect with council sessions, and then developing the internal handbook. I don't know of anything happening on that front.
we pretty much give board reports as the meetings occur. But I know we talked about doing it more in the quarterly. So that could be something that we talk about in the work session too, like bringing that around. And then on the natural resource, we've had one or two meetings. Britt and I are working on that. Our goal is to have it done by the end of the year, by the end of 2024, calendar year 2024. So we have met a couple times and we are working through the application.
And thanks to Jim Sayers.
Yep.
Good. Jim hasn't completely fallen off the radar here. That's great.
Yeah, I didn't see his name on anything and was wondering. Good.
Yeah, so then, would the solar panels fall
Yeah, I
under
think
this next
that's
one?
that one.
So evaluate renewable energy zoning use of solar community-wide. So we were able to secure 186 solar panels as a gift, a re-gifting that AES Solar had made to Monticello City 2+ years ago, and they've been sitting in a warehouse in Monticello. Council voted to return them, and that couldn't happen legally. So AES told Monticello they could do whatever they wanted with the panels. They could re-gift them, and so Monticello voted about a month ago to re-gift the solar panels to the town of Bluff. So we're just waiting for the transfer documents to come, and then we'll be taking possession of 186 solar panels, the necessary apparatus to get it up and running, and start looking at what we do with them.
That's great. And you're doing this, are you doing this with the Planning and Zoning Council still?
No, this is with the DRC, the Design Review Committee, for the old school for the CCC. And so that's where they'll go. Probably more than we really need, but we'll make that determination after we get the panels in our possession and get a bid out.
Okay. And then coordination and collaboration on available grants with the Bluff Community Foundation.
So that would be Dan Myers, and I don't think he's on the call. And I haven't heard anything recently. Has anybody?
Not since we helped them get that approval for whatever designation they needed to to reach out for grants. That was the last thing.
That's a good point.
Okay, so the council has. So we just say that the council has supported. It sounds like they needed some kind of status to be able to apply for grants, so you've supported their getting this status.
Was that a designated arts?
That was the arts.
Yeah, it was a statewide accepted designation of an arts council for a period of like 2 years.
We've also talked with them about parks, the kids' parks, playgrounds. That's what they're called, playgrounds.
Okay.
All right, I think maybe your parental rights are in question here.
It should be.
And back to the museum group, they did come down to Bluff.
Okay.
But
Well, that's good. This is good. I mean, this is a really good example of things that are underway and connected that haven't been captured yet. Should we go on to livability, community, culture, and connections? I did. So
Let's see.
So these top ones were about defining a Parks and Recreations Committee and creating a master plan.
I think that we have a Parks and Rec committee kind of defined. Wouldn't you agree with that, Britt? I mean, Dan and Jocelyn and Sarah and yourself and myself, and I guess we don't have.
Yeah, I think that they think of themselves more as a playground, committee, like specifically for that. So I don't know that we've really moved on this yet this year that much, but yeah.
I guess we haven't really established any like specific roles like active transportation and stuff like that has as well. So that probably needs some more work.
and in my mind, Parks and Rec is a kind of it involves a lot of different parts.
Yeah.
A lot of pieces, but we don't have an overall committee
And didn't we,
or department.
I can't remember if we approved it or not, didn't we talk about approving the Cooperative Cultural Center as a possibility for a playground so that they could apply for grants?
We talked about it and we as a group said yes. We haven't gotten confirmation from UDB yet.
And so what I told UDB is no confirmation is confirmation.
Good.
So we've got to move some
Yes,
of
we
these
have to
things,
move.
and
Yes,
if
you're
we
right.
want them to write grants,
Yep.
we can always alter the location if we need to, but no movement is movement.
That's very zen. All right, so since you're not moving, I'm assuming that there isn't a Parks and Recreation master plan yet.
No,
And, and I think that that's a good example of something that you could talk about, whether this still fits as something for this year or something that you think needs to get pushed out, or you'll get started on it this year, but we're not looking at it as a completed product this year.
I would agree. I don't think it's going to be a completed project here, in part because we don't really know what all the uses of the Cooperative Cultural Center will be and how that might impact the use of this building. So I'd say that's a 2025 project.
And is it a department or a committee? Those department or
It seems to me like it would be a committee that kind of falls under our buildings administration piece with Malia Collins doing scheduling and that kind of stuff for the buildings. I don't know.
wouldn't the master plan also be kind of fluid? I know we should probably type thing, but to me, it seems like something with Parks and Rec, that's something that's always kind of.
And I think it goes back to the master plan and knowing what everybody wants in town for, like with this new thing at Cottonwood Wash, access to it, trails around, playgrounds around, dance activities, yoga activities, all those things that happen here. All of that is Parks and Rec, organizing the marathons, all those things that kind of fall piece by piece. To me, it all seems like it would be a department, and you'd have those subcommittees under that. Playground committee, and I don't know. Anyway, question.
It's a good question.
Do with that.
Okay, we probably want to, we probably need to pick up our pace here a little bit, but it sounds like these are good examples of the kinds of conversations that need to be, completed and then brought to a decision about, what kind of energy you're going to put in them the rest of this year and what you might want to push off. Dark sky certification is in progress. What about the communication and education materials? Has that been started yet, or are you waiting for the certification to be completed?
Ongoing.
I don't know if there's anything. I started them. Are they anywhere helpful? No. So I think probably Q2 or Q3 or Q4. I guess they need to be completed in line with the dark sky certification. So whatever the deadline is for that, they need to be ahead of time.
And so when Sarah Burak and I met with our representative from the dark sky application process, that's part of what Sarah and Bears Ears Partnership are going to give me as a bullet point of things that we can put into an MOU to be able to define what our role is, what their role is, because we're the applicant, but they're the supporting agency for educational materials, working along with Erin. So that's in progress. When Sarah returns from her trip, maybe she and I can connect and work on that MOU.
I think for the next one, we're ready to move on. We have talked about bathrooms at that park. We've talked, we put that kind of on the capital project.
Necessarily. Wi-Fi is going to be much easier and accessible to restrooms.
Okay. Operation and O&M costs integrated in the town budget is in progress.
Yep. I think we
And now,
about that in budgeting this year, so feels good.
good. And then what about, I skipped one. What about the, I skipped two. What about the noise ordinance?
They are working on an RV ordinance at the moment, so that needs to be brought to their attention.
And is there a timeline at all, or do you want to?
I think that
noise ordinance.
changes. I have to imagine this is where we started talking about enforcement last time. So in terms of like the mediator and other enforcement mechanisms, those would probably be within like the next couple months. And then I would think that we would want planning and zoning to start focusing on this very specific one, either in Q4 or even into next year. But we need that. I think this is where we got down the rabbit hole last time of enforcement. So.
Yeah,
Well, the county can't enforce them unless we have the ordinance.
yeah, and which is pretty easy to do on the noise ordinance, which is primarily focused on the highway traffic, is if we write the ordinance, the county deputies will enforce that, like on the jake braking, which is how this kind of all started.
So I guess tentatively mark that for Q4.
So I should put that in Q4?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this is where this, for some reason, okay. And then we shift to active transportation and phased implementation targets, developing the funding and resource strategy. This is all, it's underway, right?
Right, that's that grant, and there's no match for it. It's all be funded by federal money.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's happening.
And then maybe as you move forward, it might need a little more detailing out. Here's some good news. The procurement engineering renovation services for the CCC in progress. Renovations communicated to stakeholders with their emails in progress and ongoing. And then you've got some deadlines here for guidelines for longer term use and programming, and then community feedback in the current quarter.
Yeah, I think when we get that project manager on, they will be able to give us really hone in on those particular questions, which will help drive the renovation of the building. So I took liberties of saying that'll happen in the next 3 months because I think they must.
It's good. And then this is the last section of the improved livability, et cetera. This was the point about a current vision statement for the town of Bluff. Move to progress in 2023. So this could be a longer conversation. I don't know. I mean, we're 5 minutes over our time. I don't know if this is really a good time to dig into this, or do you want to, kind of look at this for what we propose as a working session that you would really devote to a quick update on the strategic plan for focusing purposes. We've got the physical and digital public bulletin boards toward the end of the year, the fourth quarter of the calendar year. And then we've got this issue of interpretive signs and information readily available at strategic places around town.
We kind of worked a little bit on that last one. Ann and I have met with the trail group, Debbie, and putting the words up at the West Park and having the map on one side, but then having the other side of the sign available for more community-based resources.
Right.
We've made some progress on that.
And the sign has been approved by planning and zoning,
Right.
so.
And I'm sorry, was this for a particular place?
West Park?
And I did start to work on the interpretive signs for archaeological sites, but I think I got caught up in the confusion with some of the issues on the signage for the Bluff River Trail. So I kind of pulled out of that until I could figure out what was going on. But I have a rough idea of the archaeological sites that need some signage, but I would like to hear from the historical preservation society or group or whatever to hear from Deb.
Okay, that's good. There's always more happening than we know is happening because it happens and we're not seeing it, and it's too much to talk at any one point in time. So now we're on mindful growth, which you had affordable housing as a big category. Expanding and diversifying economic opportunities as a second big category. And then your third big category was natural resources management. Does anybody want to highlight something that's in progress in this area or completed in this area?
I'm just reading through the list.
I guess I kind of jumped ahead, but where it says share results of water quality and quantity and whatnot, the Bluff Water works as their own entity. It's not yet, but they are doing a strategic plan to see the sustainability of the water. So they are working on that, and we will be part of that. They'll pull that together. Two of the council will be on that session.
Okay, so if we come back up here, was there anything else that's
I think that in reviewing the modeling water-wise landscaping, well, it's not town-owned property, but it's been a lot of work this year in establishing drip systems at community garden and how you use the pumps and things like that in order to manage your watering system better. If people wanted to go out and see a good working system that they could use for their own watering, that would be a good example of part of. So
That's good.
okay. Okay, anything about the pickleball court and the gym?
The lower half has been painted first time around. It might need a second coat. And the utility rooms have been cleaned and painted and reorganized. I don't
So this
think
is
that's pretty much done, yes. Outdoor,
pickleball.
I don't think we did anything on the pickleball court. So it's so hot here, nobody's going to go outside and play pickleball.
they're playing pickleball. That's
In
good.
here, though.
Oh, yeah.
They're not
yeah.
playing outside, yeah.
Well, the flooding did end the taping,
Oh,
so it's,
Needs to be retaken.
oh, okay, well,
Is that something that we can ask our community center manager to?
yeah. Good idea.
So this can wait until you have some cooler weather.
Yeah, my guess is that would be a good July to end of September project maybe, and then it could be ready to go by October when you could stand to be out there again.
So we should,
Okay, my thing is misbehaving, so I'm just gonna put this here as a note.
And up above, you have a separate line that says assist Bluff City Historical Preservation Association, which is what we mentioned before with that sign, but that's that same reference back to the sign in West Park, and there's a few parking. It has in there.
So should I mark this as in progress?
Progress. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sign's not up yet. It's that's in progress. The sign is, the kiosk is approved, kiosk is ready to go up.
Well, and I still think that's in progress in with that we're still working on access points and parking and things like that. I mean, we've got a sign to put up, but there's still a lot to address with that.
Well, we are almost at the end of the list, and we are also. What about? Oh, let's just do this quickly. Was there the zoning code and then the year-round calendar of events? Has that moved forward?
The year-round calendar events zoning code, I don't know, I can't speak for them. Year-round calendar events, business owners of Bluff are in process of trying to develop some more events to happen. So I would say that's in progress. Probably the most, the one we've specifically started to look at is revitalizing the Dark Sky Festival in February. That's what the business owners of Bluff, we haven't really presented it to the community foundation or to the town yet. That's something that's been discussed in our last.
Okay, my machine is not going where I want it to go, so I'm going to
Your fault.
leave that.
You've got it in progress, so that's
Okay.
That's a good update.
And then what about the zoning codes?
There hasn't been any progress on that.
Okay. Are you thinking that that's something that you will keep on the list for this year, or do you want to discuss that a little bit more in depth?
Sounds like a good discussion for our work session between that and then, affordable housing plus the planning and zoning, reviewing the noise ordinance and things like that.
Yeah, and the only other thing is I think it was written as bulletin board or something like that, digital bulletin board. Kirsten Ewing has presented that thing to us, and it's rolling as far as I understand. I
Right,
haven't checked it, but
it is.
Are we really as a town with that? That's kind of my question.
You just brought it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the people would know that was an option, but that is working.
Stuff to do.
So who's the partner on this?
Kirsten Ewing?
Is that a company?
No.
It's a resident.
Okay. I'm just going to put in progress here, and then I'll let you decide if you want to list her as a champion or how that moves forward. We are at 6:44. But you've done you've done a really quick review of everything that's there. There are still some outstanding champions that need to be identified. You have a revised timetable to be done. There are some changes that you might want to consider, either revising, postponing, deleting. That's kind of the flow for these reviews. And then maybe a standing review meeting that happens once a month, and maybe your work session is that time, so that you don't wait for us, and you have a chance to do it a little more thoughtfully and maybe in more chewable chunks if you're doing it once a month.
That's a really good idea. We could have that as a standing item on our work session, second Tuesday. So everybody watch for it and make sure I get it on there the first couple times.
I guess just as we wrap up, I haven't had a chance to really say hello, and it's just, I have to tell you, it's so good to see everybody and really to think back to all of this good work that you put on paper, and now you've been really intentionally, consistently working down that list. Super proud of you all, and I know that, as we meet and you think about it, you're always thinking about what's that next thing that you need to do, but please take the time to sit back sometimes and just really, enjoy that you have pushed so many things forward. And it's been a pleasure to get to be part of this process and this town. For our part, Judith and I were talking about planning a trip. When we get there, we will certainly be in touch, but the only way a strategic planning process is successful is that if it is a living document for you all to continually check in and, keep working on. So great work. Kudos to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
All
well,
right.
That's it. That's what we have for you, and we'll send you these. We'll send you these revisions for your notes and your record.
Yeah, thanks for keeping us up to date and having us rethink through these. This is good.
Well, thank you. Have a good rest of your evening.
You're welcome. You too. And Judith's in
Thanks.
New York. That's why she's thinking for her it's 6. She's like, I need dinner. But for those of us in Utah, we're still on mountain time.
Okay. Bye.
Good night.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Judith. Thank you. So if everyone's okay, we have Michael Havocan on, so we're going to jump down to number 5. And Michael is not in the States, so that's why I gave us time for him to be able to talk about the update from the Roads Committee. So, Michael, you want to take this? And you're muted. You're still muted. Oh.
Michael, you're muted. We can't hear you.
I think he can hear us, but we can't hear him.
There's a little icon of a microphone, Michael, if you're on your phone.
Well, it's muted, but we can see he's muted, but it's not hearing us, I think.
Michael, nod your head if you can hear us. Okay, yeah, it's just that he's muted.
So I think you're turning off and on your video. Try to do the other icon next to it.
There you go.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. So the update on the roads is, as some of you may know, the county's in town right now filling potholes. We have about approximately 40 potholes. And I talked to Todd Adair, the manager of the roads for the county, and they're hoping to get done by tomorrow, which means, I had estimated 40 hours, and I arranged for the county to give us 40 hours, but they may be done in 30 hours, and I'll find out tomorrow morning where they're at, and I'll let the roads committee know. The other thing is, I had an engineer down from Jones and DeMille on the 21st of June, and we looked at the erosion on Calf Canyon Road, and we also looked at 7th Street West curb and gutter for that street. Over there, what's happening is the shoulder is eroding to a point that it's getting close to undermining the paved area of that street. So I haven't got any more info on the Calf Canyon Road. I'm waiting for a proposal from them. And but I did get a detail yesterday, a gutter and curb detail for 7th Street. And it's like 375 feet of curb and gutter. And the budget estimate is between $14 and $20 a lineal foot. So I would say that job will probably cost about $8,000. And so my thinking is to combine it with the Calf Canyon Road erosion correction, and put together. That would be a bid package that we would have to put together and look for a funding source for that. Other than that's essentially what's happening right now. Does anyone have any questions?
Did you get a timeline from? Sorry, I'm sorry. Did you get a timeline from Jones and DeMille on the Calf Canyon info?
I'm supposed to get the proposal that maybe tomorrow I'll get it. We have the holiday on Thursday, but I've been in touch with Preston Palmer, who's a graduate engineer. He's kind of the assistant to Tim Halper up there in Monticello. So, I'll follow up. We'll see what we can get this week. But it's forthcoming.
And my question is, what about the grading? Will they be grading soon?
Well, I talked to him about grading in the autumn, but after that, and I did drive all the outlying roads in March, and they looked pretty good. And so I had figured the autumn. I haven't. The only road I noticed after that rain that we had about a week or so ago is the Footbridge Road, which needs work after that rain. But I don't know what they look like. I'll check it out when I get back.
Footbridge.
Just on that road last week. It's kind
You can go through it.
Yeah.
The one I'm concerned about is the one that goes over to Recapture Wash as the water's all running straight down into the cattle guard. And we're going to either need Helgerson or somebody to dig out that water bar again. The cattle guard is full of water. It's not full of sand, but it'll soon be full of sand. But they're just, a couple of them are, the water bars are getting graded over and diverting water down the road instead of down the water bar. So we should probably do something if it's going to keep raining so that we don't cause more problems. But if they're not coming until later, maybe we need to just even some.
Well, it really, as you know, it really depends on the location of the county grader, in the county, right? And, unfortunately, I can't call them up and say, can you send the grader down? It's like when they're coming down our way, in the past, they always let me know. And, normally there's more moisture in the autumn. And so, yeah, but I can ask him about it when I talk to him tomorrow.
That one in the Horn Road also is eroding down, straight down the road because those water bars are getting missed too. There's like 2 of them that need cleaned out, possibly 3. But.
So you're talking about Horn Pasture Road?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I haven't.
But they're bypassing and they're grading straight down, and they need to grade off into the water bar. Anyway, but we can talk about that. I just wanted to make sure they weren't right in the area so we could catch them. But
There's a little bit of issue with flooding on 6th East that I've been made aware of when they improved that, I don't even know what to call it, the road up to Britt's house. There wasn't a bar ditch that leads, it kind of floods into my mom's property and Jay's property and Linda Richmond's property now. So that might be something that we look at addressing, is how we can direct water into a ditch.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, I look. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was done.
No, I mean I've looked at that situation a number of times, and in fact, in 2022 in the autumn, on a rainy day, one of the engineers from Jones and DeMille just happened to come down to meet me, and we were standing on that street, and the water primarily comes down from the road that goes up the hill to the Harts and to Sarah and Britt's house. And I've recommended last year that even though it's a private road, I think it behooves the town to put riprap up on that one ditch, and hopefully that would it won't solve the problem, but it will mitigate it to a certain extent. And that's part of a really complex drainage problem that applies to East Bluff. All those streets. It really, that would be fixing 6th Street and other streets in East Bluff would actually be project.
So Michael,
Yeah.
can you use C Road money to fix a private road and put riprap?
Yeah, we can put riprap up there. Yeah.
and so
And there's confusion because it's not. I mean, it's a public road. It's Facilia. I mean, it's not ours. When we talk to the county, they say it's not ours, but we maintain it, and it's on my property when I plug it in. So I mean, it's a kind of a mess. I mean, when I called to get an address for the thing, it was a nightmare. So
Yeah.
Chicken East in that it's not a private road, but it's not a public or county improved road either, would be my guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that was brought to my attention just 2 days ago, and I have always said it was a private road. It always has the signs and things that make you think that. But one problem would be getting a grader.
well, it says dead end. It says dead end. That's the only signage at the bottom. I mean, it's an open road up to where I call my driveway. And I haven't picked at this because I think it's a mess, and I don't want to. I don't want to
Well,
pick it
I
too
think
hard.
another
To be quite honest with you, I mean, I don't want to get into
on-
my neighbor. But anyways, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm over talking. I think that to avoid that portion, if we worked on getting some drainage under 6th East is a town road or a county road. I don't know which, but because at 6th East that the drainage problems are happening on or directly affecting anyways. It's not necessarily that other road. It's runoff coming off that road.
We didn't want to cut into that thinking it was private when we did that other chip sealing work. We didn't want to cut into theirs, which is what it means is cut into their culvert at the bottom.
So it sounds to me like there are a number of places we need to look at, and let's get Jones and DeMille on board for what we have to do immediately, and then have a work session and time to devote to the bigger picture, because we're not going to resolve anything today.
Right. One comment I have is that unfortunately Google Maps, they didn't go to the county, to the state UDOT official road map when they put together their map, and they show that as a street, that road going up the hill. They also show that alley alongside West Shook's property as a street. And that creates a problem because people think they're going up a public street when they're not. And I don't know what the fix would be on that. I just wanted to mention that. We really need an engineer on board to really look at the overall picture of the drainage on 6th Street and other streets in East Bluff.
And it could be that we need to combine all three of those projects if we're going to get funding for them. That could be a third, because they're all drainage problems. So anyway, we need to move on in our meeting, but
that's what I was kind of trying to do.
Okay.
It's good to have those three, because it was news to me.
So let's figure out a work session at some point here that we can do this on. And Michael, when do you come back?
I should be back like the 24th of July.
So maybe in the August work session.
Well, actually Monday of that week, 22nd, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then thank you, Michael.
Well, thank you all. And, we'll keep plugging away.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael.
We'll jump back up to number 2, status of environmental justice government grant, and a report on the design review committee meeting on June 25th, 2024. And we also had a meeting today. So Erin, do you want to cover that?
I don't have any updates on the grant for the design review committee meetings. Last week, we continued to talk to Janet about getting their sam.gov registration done, as well as just another piece for the pass-through funding. And then so our piece is complete, but theirs is not. And then from a high level, we are trying to get an RFP out for architectural engineering services for the CCC building. That has gone to our legal counsel, and we've got some feedback from him regarding the status of that. And so I think we're pretty well ready after discussion last week and then discussion this week. We'd like to get that out to bid. It is going to be a sealed bid. So we'll get that released and on our website within the next week and in the newspaper and everything. And then we've got some timelines that or dictated out in the RFP itself regarding that timing. I definitely have an update for 3, but other things for the meeting last week, Jen, the
No,
nothing
that's,
groundbreaking.
no. Although we did have, it is groundbreaking because we actually had 2 UDB members sitting on the meeting with us. That was groundbreaking to me. So, yeah.
And we're trying to do weekly updates. We send the meeting minutes to council and UDB board, so full transparency there. And then members of the public can find approved meeting minutes on our website under the town boards and committees tab if they want to see what we're up to.
Any questions? Well, then we'll
The
move.
minutes have been super helpful, so thank you very much.
Good to hear. Thanks.
Then we'll move to number 3, report on the status of the interviews for the environmental justice government to government project manager, the bookkeeper for the town of Bluff, and the note taker for the town of Bluff.
Well, a little tired today because I've had meetings at 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 3:30, and 4. And most of those were interviews, which is very exciting. And a lot of folks in the room were in on those interviews as well. So this morning we spent time talking with 3 individuals about the bookkeeper note taker position. We have not had time to debrief on that yet because I think you just heard my schedule. But we did have applicants, which is fantastic, and local applicants at that. I think we definitely got plenty of qualified individuals. So we just need to have a little debrief between Ann, Linda, and myself. And I think probably by next meeting, we could have a recommendation on that. There was an additional individual who just sent in their resume. And so if we needed to move to that, we could pull them in for an interview. But those interviews went well. So that's good. For the project manager position, in my mind, we got really 1 qualified applicant, and we conducted an interview with her today. Jen, Davis, Wilfred, and myself conducted an interview with her today. I will give you, high level. We did get other resumes, but they were all, they were not local applicants. Most of them lived quite far away and would not have been able to conduct business here in town on a regular basis, which I think is really needed for this particular role. So, and then 1 who was a little closer by, Salt Lake City, I didn't find her resume to really fit the bill for what we needed. So we interviewed Malia Collins today, and after a debrief during our DRC meeting, I think I would like to make the recommendation from the interview committee as well as the DRC that we do extend a job offer to Malia. UDB needs to go through the same kind of approval process. They are supposed to be meeting on Monday, July 8th. But since this is a hiring, I think it would be good for you all to vote potentially even on Tuesday. It doesn't necessarily have to be this week since they're not meeting until Monday. But it is my recommendation that we extend a job offer to Malia for this part-time position. It is salaried, it's part-time, it's paid through the EPA grant, and ideally, Malia would be able to start pretty quickly. We have a lot of training materials that the project manager needs to familiarize themselves with. And then things really ramp up by the end of July and early August with starting to get engineering and things on board. So that's my recommendation. Does anyone have any questions about the hiring process? I guess we'll go from project manager back to bookkeeper if there are questions. But
So next Tuesday is our work session. So we can do this one of 2 ways. I can tag on a meeting part of it so that we can vote on whether or not we're going to hire based on the recommendation. Or if people would like to move it along more quickly, we could do it on Friday and I could call a 10-minute meeting.
My question is if would we be able to lump them together and have a recommendation for both project manager and bookkeeper meeting person? And if that's the case, do you all need a little bit more time, i.e. Tuesday rather than Friday? Otherwise,
Probably not a bad
I
idea.
think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Hey, Tuesday.
So,
Unless there's work to be done this week. I kind of
we're,
about doing it
well,
today, but I don't know if it's on the agenda.
It's
no,
not
it's
on the
not, it's
agenda.
not, not to vote.
There's not a vote.
And it would
and
be,
since we can't do anything with project manager, at least until we hear from UDP's board, and they're not meeting until Monday, then
Then you might as well wait.
Yeah, the other thing about waiting is that I think it was pretty clear today in the design review committee that there's no way that I personally am comfortable pulling any money out of our grant until UDB has been able to qualify to receive their money, which means they still have these two pieces. And I'm concerned that if we started pulling money and something fell apart with UDB, we would have to repay money. So I think waiting until Tuesday and seeing if we can get everything in a row to be able to vote on Tuesday. So it'll go maybe work session and then the agenda at the end for a vote. Okay,
So another meeting, because you'll have to put it as another meeting.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, to vote, do it as a work session, then as a
And then we'll have to
meeting.
follow up
Yeah.
a meeting.
Yeah.
and then hopefully vote to approve both positions or all three positions, whichever comes out.
yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, anything else, Erin, on that? Okay, then moving to number 4, update on San Juan County's proposed ordinances and the public hearing. Since I was doing this, not knowing what San Juan County was going to do about voting today on the ordinances, but they did, thank you to Melissa Rigg, they pulled the, she notified us that they pulled the continued discussion of the ordinance and the vote for the commissioners off of today's agenda. So that didn't happen. That gives us a little bit more time to see what the final draft looks like. I think that there was probably a notice requirement issue that they didn't meet in terms of having the completed draft up for the public far enough ahead of the vote on the commission. But either way, it's deferred at this point for more work.
Yeah, they pulled the public hearing last week as well. From what I was informed was that the attorneys hadn't had time to look at their proposed stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
There were some very upset people last Wednesday.
Just the way it's got to go.
Because they were ready to.
They were ready, the attorneys were not.
As the developers stand in line with their bids. Okay, anything further on that? Then number 6, discussion of emergency services and plan, including the need for sandbags. Erin, do you want to take that?
I'll take the second half and then we can talk about the first half.
Okay.
So after the flash flooding versus flooding, but our fire chief, Anthony Lott, notified me that he received pushback from the county because he had reached out, I think kind of in the midst of the flooding, and was essentially told that he could not request sand or sandbags, that it needed to come from the town manager. And he did not contact me that evening. I touched base with him the next day, and he relayed this information on to me. And so in evaluating the plan and how the communications need to go, those communications do need to come from the town of Bluff, and essentially we need to certify that we're unable to provide the surfaces. Then, and Ann, you were talking through this process, so please correct me, but so we say, nope, we're not able to do it. Then it goes up to the county determines if they're able to do it or not, and then it would go to the state, and then it would go to FEMA. And so since we had not started the chain of, hey, the town is unable to do this, we need the help, and it come from the town specifically, that did not get done. Now, I have already communicated to them that, yes, we do indeed need these items. And so we're just coordinating the drop-off location and quantities and things like that. I do think that this is probably a wider discussion regarding how we can really quickly ensure that anyone would be able to reach myself or Ann, and we would be able to get a notice to the county if that is indeed, the red tape that we need to follow. I'm disappointed that the fire chief was unable to have his request met when he is indeed the fire chief. So I'd like to just state that. I think that's a little difficult. But it was a good example of, how we do need to have the plan, very well tightened, and all the point people need to be there, and, need to know how to contact them and things like that. So the second half I am working on, and, certainly for flash flooding, it's a little tricky with sandbags, but for flooding, if this is going to be, sustained poor weather throughout the rest of the summer, clearly having those items on hand will be helpful. Regarding emergency services and plan, I don't know what else we want to get into today. I know that's been a huge project on your behalf.
Well, I think that it's probably something that's good for the August work session. So we do have to have I don't know who suggested the flow chart, but doing a flow chart that we have that's visible to all of us that says, okay, we have an emergency that we can't meet, and these are the steps. Because if you expend any money before you do the first step, the second step, the third step in FEMA, we don't get reimbursed for it. So, for instance, if we spent 10 grand of our own and then said, oh, oops, we need to go to the next level, we may not get reimbursed for that 10 grand. So it's a good reminder. Luckily, it sounds like everybody was able to survive it without the sandbags. I think it's interesting that last year I had this exact conversation with San Juan County and this about the sandbags, and that was different information than I was given last year. So we just need to solidify that and have a chart that everybody can look at with the numbers and say, here's where we start and what we do.
Does Bluff have an emergency management plan or like a risk management plan? Like, because like there's a flow chart, but then like the totality of who talks to who, like the media and things like that.
Yeah, that's what Chief Lott and I've been working on. I really should say he's been working on, and I'm kind of just nagging and following. And then we dovetail into the county's plan on some things like the mitigation and whatever. So I figured that since he's going on sabbatical in September, that's kind of a push this summer to get that draft wrapped up.
So I just have a question for immediate concerns. There were always sandbags at the fire station ready to be filled with sand. Are there none right now?
They have the bags, there is no sand.
Okay.
And the sand got reallocated for a county project, is what I'm
Correct.
hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So we had one half of the equation and not the other.
But as long as we have sandbags, there's a lot of sand. Yeah. I mean, not as easy as having a pile right there, but
That's what we're trying to get to.
and they're still holding solid because sometimes they just like.
I'll verify. He was checking on stuff today for me. But yes, that's a good,
Yeah, and what part of the information I got last year was that the county received a grant or received money for a sandbagger. And so I believe that they have a sandbagger because that was part of the discussion, which makes it easier than manually filling the bags. Yeah, well, if they have a machine that does it, looking at this population, it's probably best to have the machine started at least.
In relation to, not related to sandbags, but since we personally, I feel, got very lucky this weekend in that we had power outages that were only 2, 3, and 4 hours long. Our neighbors across the river were out of power for 3 days. A lot of lost food, but do we have any capacity for cooling facilities, things like that? I mean, I was totally full on Saturday night with people who were trying to get out of their houses when we had 100-degree days and no
And
power.
that's why we need to work on that.
the USDA grant.
Yeah.
It's not all that, so. Can
Yeah,
I
yeah, go, yeah, I mean, that follows with this emergency
Emergency
service.
services, yeah. So I did from our meeting. I can't remember
Last week, yeah, or 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did follow up with Colette Walker, the ESDA. And so a lot of our ideas were not applicable. She really wants these grants to go towards emergency service. I think it sounds like the direction that we would want to go. I think we should write, and I think that we should write a grant for a fixed generator, probably for one of these buildings, and then a portable large scale generator. And so they're probably two separate grants. These are very expensive items. But yeah, I think it would make sense to submit two separate applications for each, and maybe we get both would be great. Or maybe we just get one of those generators and would be able to, secure one of the facilities. But yeah, that's such a, yeah.
I was also a little bit irritated that, UNHS sent out the stuff with charging stations and things like that available at Montezuma Creek Library and things like that, but they didn't tote it all. And I'm kind of disappointed with this, that Montezuma Creek now has the full-time open food bank, and we have a Tuesday food bank. And with people losing food, I'm sure people lost food, especially across the river. When your refrigerator and freezer are out for 3 days, you have spoilage. But I was kind of sad that they didn't promote, we have these food banks available for people who were in immediate need of subsistence. So maybe that's something that we could kind of blast out too, is that those resources are available.
Good idea.
Yeah, because it could be out a long time.
Well, it was out for 3 days over there. I mean, that's why I say we got lucky, know? I mean,
Yeah, and that's what you kind of have to prep for. But on the emergency step too, though, I thought I would say it's the storm drainage worked really well.
Yeah,
Like your
yeah.
place didn't get flooded.
Yeah.
It stayed in its ditch all the way
Yeah,
under
it was
the
nice.
highway, all the way down. Cottonwood Wash came completely out and below the bridge. Below the lodge there looks like, well, Nate said it looks like Mars. It is so much debris and so much mud everywhere. And it came out, so luckily it didn't come out higher, or it would have gone through those of us on the south side or up through the lawn and whatnot. It stayed under the bridge. The bridge was close. It didn't catch any trees. It didn't block it up like it did in the late 60s. But it definitely came out. It was bigger than the river.
Yeah, and it did, Cottonwood was up right to the base of the propane tank at the new elementary school. So that was kind of a nice, nice test, I mean, it was right there. We did have the houses for Linda and Barty, can't ever remember his name. They did get flood damage there.
But just in the garage, I had heard.
Well, they were surrounded by water.
Yeah.
They
Their house
fortunately
stayed
had
up.
elevated a little bit in their building. I think that's something that planning and zoning should really look at, and maybe in their site plans, take into account if you are building in a flood zone, because a lot of people are building in flood zones right now. You need to have a plan to elevate your house or have
We could
mitigation for water damage.
talk to graphical
Right.
hazard tape.
Right.
But it's a very large conversation.
Yeah, it is.
In
Huge.
Cadillac Ranch, that lower part that they just built,
Yep,
put the
was
bathhouse in,
completely
that all
underwater.
got flooded, but
And had septic issues, from what I understand.
so it's all covered. But,
Yeah.
But anyway, it was quite a flood, and it was only an inch here, which wasn't a very big rain, and there was 2 inches in Blanding, and then the next day they had about another 3/4 of an inch, which isn't that much. So it came pretty quick, but there are definitely bigger storms around.
Well, we're lucky that we didn't, I mean, Lime Creek, which went
Yeah.
over the highway, probably had the equivalent of 15,000 CFS rolling through it. I don't know what the CFS was rolling through Lime Creek, but
And it
that's
wasn't
17
even
miles.
Sounds like it was the dry wash next one.
It was the east line that flashed big. Lime Creek itself didn't very much, but by the time it got to the river, it was Lime Creek, and it was huge.
Videos.
Oh, it's great. We went down the next day, and it was,
And I don't know, like, if our stormwater pond would hold that big of a it sure did a good job.
Yeah, it did.
It held it back.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, when we went and drove that right after the storm, there was, and there was water definitely running through, and not in the way that it used to.
So I
And
think,
the other west side all ran really well. And those washes all held. But that, all through town and then the next two, all of those held well, and they all went out into that floodplain.
So I just want to say, big thanks to all the folks that like responded quickly to the people who were like stranded, with huge boat losses. I think I heard 23 boat losses on the San Juan. Lucky nobody hurt, but big thanks to the folks that showed up with vans and trucks to get people out.
Yeah.
yep. So I think we pretty much have covered 7, status and discussion of the flood, and then plan for engineering services with Michael. So,
The only thing that I'll add, clearly culverts, we want to make sure that we're getting those cleared out. It's always on the schedule annually. We've got kind of a revolving schedule. So we're in the process of looking how to do that. So we are aware, and thanks to the folks who wrote in about their concerns. I think we've touched on almost all of those here today. And, you don't want me coming out and evaluating your drainage. That's not a good idea, but clearly we have a wealth of knowledge that we can pull from. And I'm excited that Michael has secured engineering services who can help us with the roads specifically.
yeah. All right, number 8, discussion of applying for AmeriCorps team for this year. I had a reach out from Justin. Just drew a blank on his last name. But he is our contact person for AmeriCorps and CCC. And they have 3 dates they've identified to send teams out. And he wondered if Bluff wanted a team. I think it would be October, November, January, February, and May, June. I'm just doing that from memory. Justin Mazzola, what I told him when I did my town exit interview with this other team that we just had is I couldn't imagine that we had any need for AmeriCorps this next year with the construction going on. They would probably just be in the way more so than anything we could do. He also asked if we could pair up with anyone. I got a phone call from Ricky Epperson at Community Rebuilds in Moab asking if we were applying for a team and whether we wanted to team up. My personal feeling is that we've got a lot going on and we don't have the capacity to do construction, and there's really no public service project that we have unless the giant cane here.
What about the tiny houses at Commission? Do we know the status of those at all? Because those could have come in handy this last weekend as well.
They aren't livable yet. They're waiting for Mountain Tower to hook up the power. They're all wired up and ready, and they'll be furnished shortly.
Okay. I just thought that might be a project that they could help with if we're waiting on power. Then
Yeah, they're all done. They just need the power.
And if it's a construction project, what I discovered with this one is that we have to have a supervisor that we have on the ground to help. And we're going to have so much going on. So is there anyone that wants to identify a project that you would like me to put in a grant request, or should we let it sit for this next 3 sessions, which is essentially a year?
There might end up something on the highway trail, but there's no way to know. There's no way to know at this point. It needs to be designed first, and then maybe there'll be something in the future.
Well, we'll always have an opportunity to apply. I mean, we've done well. We have a good contact person. So the giant cane, though, that's all covered with the.
Yeah, I have an update, but is there time for other?
Yeah, go ahead, because
I was going to do it in the public comment, but then I did the other public comment. So yes, Killian Bailey is who's working with the Canyon Country Discovery Center, and he has a group together, and they are planning to come down. So what we need, he's working on getting the map of all the stands, and get a letter, email out to people, the general population of people. We should probably put it on the work session. for this project. We need to get a general blast out to town that they'll be here, look around your property, see what you need help with. And then specifically the ones that were mapped, go back and look at the ones that were removed, and then go to the ones that haven't been started and get their permission to come on site. It is a state law that it be removed, so one way or the other, it needs to be removed from property, either with the help of like this crew or by the property owner, or however, but so we need to get those emails out, and then they've got a crew of either 5 people or 10, depending on if they bring 1, 2, or 2, and just depending on how quickly we can get these places identified and people signed up to have them removed, they can come without any. And they need to come before the end of September, but hopefully July, August would be better. I know it is hot. They could go early. They could go early, yeah. So September might be what they kind of wanted to speed it up a little bit. But September is probably the best, but it does need to be green, and their work will be primarily spraying herbicide, cutting and removing and spraying.
So they're going to use an herbicide.
That just like we did with the DNR, which is Division of Natural Resources. Yeah, you cut them, and within 15 minutes, you just take a little paintbrush and put Roundup right on the stalk, and that's enough to kill them. So we had like 2 of them pop back out. The dig out goes a little harder. You don't get them quite removed as well as you do with the spray on the stumps. But
So I would not round up on my property, and I'm just thinking we may get some pushback on from people on that.
so then they
So
have to dig them out, or maybe this crew, it takes probably 10 times, like 20 times as long. They could at least get them removed, the tops, and then they could dig out the roots, but it's quite a mess. So anyway, it just needs to be out there that it is required, a state law that requires to get rid of it, and the town is responsible to get rid of it in our town boundaries.
Back to another project. Anything other? It is 5:29. Or we can just sit here.
Adjourn.
Second.
Sorry, Britt's not here. I forgot.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hi.
Anyone opposed? All right, it's unanimous. I'm turning off the recorder. It is 5:29. Thanks, everyone.
Y'all have a good evening. Thank
See
you.
you later.